Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. I hope we meet you well. Well, I guess what's grabbing the headlines this morning, well, the continuing battle against corruption. There are those who are saying that, are we sure that this fight is still on? You know, it was a major plank of this administration. And suddenly the news that the Accountant General of the Federation, no less, had indeed been arrested. Mr. Ahmed Idris was appointed in 2015. He's the administrative head of the Treasury, because you might be wondering, some of us might be wondering, what exactly is the Accountant General? That's how we have everybody general. No. In this case, he's the administrative head of the Treasury. It therefore would, it seems that he has access. I don't know. It would seem he has access, since EFCC is laying a grievous charge on him, something about money laundering / stealing of 80 billion naira, no less. That's what we'll talk about today. And my guests, Mr. Curtis Adigba, lawyer, public affairs analyst. Thank you very much, as always, for being on the program.
Thanks for having me. Indeed,
our pleasure. And Mr. Patrick Wale Adejayon. He's a Nigerian in diaspora. He's visiting home. He's CEO, International Center for Business Development, all the way over in Benin, in Dublin. In Dublin. What did I say, Benin?
Dublin.
Dublin, Benin. No. It's not connecting me to Dublin and Benin. But good to have you.
Thanks very much.
So there we are. And we'll also be linking up with Mr. Lanrewaju Suraj via, that is remotely, Zoom or whatever. We shall be linking up with him. He's chair, Civil Society Network Against Corruption. Okay, let's start. It was a bit of a shocker, a bit of a surprising one, perhaps, Curtis, because when you have people at the head of financial institutions like that, usually it's such a conservative area. The utmost trust is usually, bestowed on such people. Were you surprised and shocked at the allegation that EFCC has made?
No, I'm not surprised. And I don't think anything will surprise me again about corruption in Nigeria.
In our beloved country.
We make these issues something that is not important, as most Nigerians think. We've come to adjust our sensibility to the fact that corruption has become a way of life, in Nigeria. And then we make excuses and rationalize it. Sometimes you even find a large number of Nigerians celebrate an acquittal of someone who was put on trial for corruption. And then they will tell you, but we told you that this government is not serious about corruption. And what they don't understand is that corruption is an existential problem in this country. If we are not able to reduce corruption to the barest minimum in this country, you're not going to be able to make any progress. And what I found more troubling is the fact that most Nigerians don't hate corruption. They just hate that they are not the beneficiaries of corruption at any point in time. And so you have this large pool of excuses that are whipped out from time to time to justify certain things. So,
but only what you said was just a slight exaggeration for emphasis. It's not empirically true.
Well, I stand by my position, and I'll tell you why. Because
you see, most Nigerians, it's because they're not benefiting from it.
Let me tell you.
I imagine that your very good self, if you were to know that whatever benefit is coming my way, it is proceeds of corruption, I think I know you enough to say that you would decline immediately.
Yeah, but look, let's not even make it my own issue.
I know, I'm just saying that it was a slight overstatement.
No, it's not.
Oh dear.
I'll prove it to you.
Okay.
Today we received testimonies in churches and in various places of worship about the kind of breakthroughs some of them made. And when you go and find out, you will find out that it was a process of corruption that led to some of these things. Now,
for example?
Yes. Go to any typical government house in this country and see the way money flows out. I have a friend who has been visiting a particular government house. I'm not going to call the name. And he said to me, look, the last 5-6 times I've visited, there is no time that, even if we are 5-6 in number, when we are leaving, the governor will just wink at one of the aides and then they roll out the cash for 500,000 for them.
But something by way of...
So what I'm saying is that the ease with which our public officials have access to public resources creates this opportunity for corruption all over.
I've heard you. I've heard you. And unfortunately, there are those who would say of the example that Curtis just gave that it's cola.
Yeah.
Cola. And it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
This is the problem. It starts, I'm not in any way, shape, or form justifying it, but it happens even at the lower family level. Whether you should now use public funds for that same cola, you are going, wait, let me find something for you, and then do the needful. Well, that is, Curtis narrated, he gave that anecdote in relation to the larger question that we're looking at, which is the arrest of Mr. Ahmed Idris on the grievous allegation, and he is the head of the administrative head of the Treasury, allegation that he's stolen money, laundering money, real estate deals are suspected. This is a problem.
It is actually.
For somebody at such a high level of office. Give me your thoughts. Were you surprised? Curtis has explained to us. I wasn't really surprised, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's actually true that corruption is endemic in the nation. It's in the system. It's been there for a long time. But it's become a culture to give, culture of this nation, not all over the world, is to say thank you when you get anything. Even the Bible, when we talk about it, Jesus said one of the lepers did not come to say thank you. So the culture of saying thank you, it's a normal culture. But what happened is that, are you now using your resources to say thank you? Or you are using somebody's fund, government fund, that can be channeled into good and quality things within the nation? That is why we have bad roads in the country now. That's why the light is epileptic. That's why a lot of people like me are leaving the country every day. If you go to the embassy now, you see more people trying to go out of Nigeria than going to the hospital. So not that they are sick, but you can bring it down to the level of mentoring. I'm coming from this side because I worked in the bank for 14 years in Nigeria. My first job, then my first manager called me and he said...
Actually, that thing is entering into my thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My first manager called me and he said, now we have employed you. Let me tell you something. You see this strong room, what is there? I said, money. He said, that's not money. That is our stock in trade. If you go to Leventis, you go to Coca-Cola, you find Coke there. This is our Coca-Cola. This is our biscuit. This is our milk.
This is our own warehouse. This is our own warehouse.
Everything we have there.
Our commodities there.
The only thing we sell is money. The one in your pocket is real money that you can spend. But this one is our stock in trade.
What point was he trying to make, just to clarify it?
So that I will not need 10 naira and go and remove it from there. I think that it's money. Because they gave me the key to the strong room. So I have access. I could
so
go
he
in.
doesn't see that tempting, tempting content. Don't see it as money.
We can have 100 million in the vault at a particular time, but you don't see it as money. See it as your stock in trade. And that mentorship actually helped me, because when I'm broke, I won't think of going to the vault to help myself out. I'll look for other ways of doing it. So today we have been mentored by even our superior to say, when we have needs, we all have needs, we all have shortages, we go to the public fund. If we can understand that the public fund is meant for the public, it's meant to be used for the betterment of the society, that way they will not go in there. So when somebody now comes up and take as much as 80 billion.
Allegedly.
It's still an allegation, it's not been confirmed. But 80 billion is not a paltry sum. That can solve a lot of issues. Education, health, a lot of people are going abroad for medical treatment. So when you look at it, you will consider the amount of money and you say, why did they do that, for God's sake?
This is what EFCC must get to the bottom of, because it's one thing to arrest, to charge. It's quite another thing to prove it in court. Before coming on air, I was speaking with Curtis about an EFCC case. Who is that gentleman that?
Andrew Yakubu.
Andrew Yakubu.
Group managing director, former group managing director.
His case was thrown out. His EFCC case against him was thrown out.
Not only him, there are so many cases that the EFCC took to court, and for technical reasons or some cases, the judges didn't find that
they couldn't prove the charge,
that they were guilty. And like I said, some people celebrated that in this country. But here is the truth. And the same people will go and say, oh, you know, the government is not fighting corruption. It's all about political persecution. It's all about religious differences. But here is the point. It is not the responsibility of the executive branch of government led by Mr. President or the governor at the state level to jail any corrupt person. The responsibility of the president or the governor, and of course, I don't know of any governor that has taken anybody to court at the state level for corruption, is to take evidence that is available to the government, evidence of alleged corruption, to the court. Now, government go to the court and make their case. It is left for the judge or judges to attach weight to that evidence and then find whether the person is guilty or not guilty. Of course, the responsibility of government as the body that made the allegation, the burden is very heavy on them because it has to be beyond all reasonable doubt. And so it becomes extremely very difficult because of the clever and convoluted manner in which public funds are stolen.
Okay.
Using different kind of people. So we therefore need certain laws that will shift the burden of proof to those that are accused. For instance, in the United Kingdom, you have the law that is known as the unexplained wealth order. If you are earning 30,000 as a civil servant, and you have 10, 15 houses in Lagos, you have no known business, it is your responsibility to prove to the authorities how you made the money to buy the 16 houses.
That's not how we do.
That's not how we do. What we have done here, what we have now is to say that government must go out.
Yes. And
prove beyond all reasonable doubt.
So I would have done my level best to hide resources, through proxies, etc. And then know that the law is such that, well, whoever accuses must prove.
Yes. Yeah.
You know. By the way, I did say that Mr. Lanrewaju Suraj would also be on this set. Good morning to you, Mr. Suraju, Chair, Civil Society. Thank you very much. Civil Society Network Against Corruption. I've just been hearing in here that my first two guests are not unduly surprised, actually. So let me ask the same question of you. How were you grabbed by this serious action by the EFCC? They've arrested and accused Ahmed Idris of, purloining 80 billion.
Yeah, it is not so shocking that TFCC is actually going after or finally got Mr. Ahmed Idris. What is really shocking is that the gatekeeper in the person of Mr. Ahmed Idris, I mean, if you understand very well the role of the Office of the Accountant General, that is supposed to be the gatekeeper. I mean, that is almost a situation where you found that your security guard, with whom you have charged with the responsibility of monitoring the flow of your assets through in and out of the compound, is actually more or less a ringleader of some criminal syndicates.
Yes, if the charge is proved. If the charge is proved.
I mean, this is the shock that I'm talking about. So then it will be a function of now getting to court to present the evidence that will then support some of those allegations. But one of the guests already rightly said, I think we are in a very challenging situation now, especially with the judiciary. And the unfortunate thing, it's also the fact that it goes to the level of the political will, the sincerity, and also the commitment on the part of the leadership, and I can say on the part of the executive. So take, for instance, we all saw where the Attorney General of the Federation, the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, boastfully said they have distributed cars to people, and is going to be willing to also distribute aeroplane. He has also admitted that those vehicles were donated by some of his friends who are well-wishers. And the law on the Code of Conduct for Public Office Holder is very clear. As a public office holder, there's a limit to the amount of gift that you can take. Exactly. I think it is even talking about just 5,000 naira. Anything outside that, you would have to remit that to the purse of the government, to the account of the office that you hold, or that of the federal government. So inevitably, where you have this situation, that you have the chief law officer is not different from Ahmed Idris. Under normal circumstances, I think because the Attorney General does not have immunity, the first person to have been either summoned by the ICPC, EFCC, or Code of Conduct is Abubakar Malami, to actually go and explain who are those his friends that have donated the vehicles to him, through which is gratifying some of the political office.
But no such inquiries were made.
No, I mean, he made an open confession. This is not an assumption. There's a video there for the law enforcement officers to actually investigate. So if intelligence has been gathered now on Ahmed Idris, like you find with Andrew Yakubu, it is very unfortunate that the judiciary, for whatever reason, has decided to side with the corrupt. The ingredients of the crime is there. So if Andrew Yakubu is claiming that those monies beyond his legitimate earnings were donated by his friends, the first question is, who are these friends? Do you have the legal basis for you to accept such gifts? And if you would want to go by it, beyond even the unexplained wealth order that is just explained, I mean, the onus has shifted to Andrew Yakubu, yes, to explain how and where he got those monies donated to him, and claimed donated to him by those friends. It is not for the government to prove again, because we have seen the ingredients, and this is what we need to strongly send to the judiciary. That we can't survive as a nation with this kind of interpretation of the law. It's not going to be possible. There's no amount of effort on the part of the EFCC or the ICPC or Code of Conduct Bureau if the ultimate decider, which is the judiciary, will give this level of interpretation to the law and alleged crime. Then it will be free for all, for public office holders to continue committing the crime, knowing fully well that it's just going to be a function of manipulating the process when you get to the judiciary. So with Ahmed Idris, I mean, it is really also sad. And this is why I think it is not just going to be those to be elected into office, that we must conduct psychiatric tests on them. I think it should be a periodic thing to be actually conducted on public office holders.
Okay.
What do you want to do with 80 billion naira?
Larry, I'm going to come back to you. You. Thank you very much. Some of the things Larry pointed out there, we already knew, but we were in danger of forgetting that, as a matter of fact, you can't gift a public official anything beyond a certain limit. And it's not just Nigeria. This is a concept that we know, unless we want to say we don't know. Happens all over the world. People know that in America, for instance, whatever you give the president, he visits you, he's a whole president of the strongest nation in the world, you give him this, you give him, if you like, make a platinum Rolex and give him. It's going straight into a government coffer. You can't take it out on your own.
You can borrow it and use,
but
he has to return it.
You're not going away with it. Now, we have a variation of that theme.
And he can buy it if he wants to buy it.
We have a variation of that theme here. But it's observed mainly in its non-observance. We're talking about Ahmed Idris now, but Andrew Yakubu is an interesting example in the sense that he said up front, as Larry was pointed out, that The money you found in the safe, what, something like $9.7 million US, not Naira. That money was given to me by friends or occasions happen, whether it is a birthday, whether they're just feeling good, and somehow...
Yuri, how much did you receive for your birthday? I want to know, because you're also...
You know, because we're all Nigerians.
You're also a top guy.
We're also Nigerians. And nobody asked those kind of questions. It's why Lanre Suraj seems to have a problem with the judiciary. Those eminent jurists that head up those places, we know they take so much into consideration. And we can't stay here as, what are they called? Lawyers like to call us one thing if we don't have a degree in law. What is that thing?
Unlearned fellow.
Unlearned. we can't be unlearned. We sitting here and saying we know what it is that their lordships do. But how is it that they didn't bring this thing up that Lanre Suraj is bringing up? How can a person be saying before a court that part of the $9.7 billion, there were gifts, birthday gifts from friends? So that's a fundamental problem.
You want me to explain that? The way the justices say, the judges say?
Yeah, you know what we need to do.
Okay, I'll come to you.
Yeah. What we need to do is, out there, we have what they call ombudsmen. An ombudsman is there to watch, to be like the police of the police.
Yes.
Every organization has an ombudsman. If you don't treat me well, if you are not doing the right thing, we go to the ombudsman. And the ombudsman now consists of different sets of individuals. And they will look at it from a different perspective.
You're saying we need, that's what we need?
That's what we need. We need a police that will even police the EFCC.
Oh, okay.
Even the judges themselves.
Curtis, what was your idea as to why people are able to get away so easily without the difficult questions being asked them?
See, I understand what he's saying, but I'm not going to sit here and just inject motive to what the judges do, because not sitting in their position in court and having access to the information that they have or evidence. However, to an ordinary Nigerian who is not tutored in law, there's this tendency for them to believe that something must be happening, because the same set of evidence that will be used to convict someone accused of crime who is not powerful, who is not a politician, a wealthy guy, is not enough to convict a powerful politician in this country. Don't forget, a former governor in this country had 49 charges against him dismissed by a court sitting in Benin. 3 of those charges in London, they found him guilty. The same part of the charges that of the 49 that all were dismissed in this country. Now, so here is the problem. The man comes to court and said, I got this money as gift. Okay?
Yeah.
And the gifts came from my friends over the years. So the judge never adverted his mind to the fact that under the public rules or the code of conduct rules, that he is not expected to receive gifts of such magnitude. Rather, he says, okay, the man says, I didn't steal the money. You accuse him of stealing the money. So it's your duty to prove that he stole the money and show me where he stole the money from. And if you are not able to discharge that proof, then I cannot find him guilty.
So such is the nature of the law.
Yes.
Such is the nature of the law. And until, in fact, I even hear that in France, I believe, they say they have a different view of the law, where a person who is accused, the burden is on him to come and prove that those 37 houses I have
in China,
most Oriental countries, 37 houses I have, I can prove that it's legitimate. It's not for the authorities to prove that something fishy is going on. Olanewaju, I don't know if you agree with what we're saying in here, that this is the nature of the law sometimes. We don't avail ourselves to some of those things, and if we're stuck with this kind of a system, quite frankly, we're just going around in circles, perhaps.
No, I think, the truth of the matter is in a situation where you don't have the evidence to show that a crime has been committed, you can then be making some inferences and then also trying to prove beyond reasonable doubt. But where the ingredients of the crime is blatant, is physical, is available, It is not rocket science, and that is why, I mean, the other world, the other countries, and that is also part of the challenge for us. I mean, if you go to the UK, if you go with the Paradise paper that came out very recent, I mean, about 2 years ago, revealing properties in the UK, you would see that Nigerians are the second only to UK citizens that had properties that were domiciled in the UK, and were also eating under the shell companies that were opened in British Virgin Islands and other places. Because we have allowed this narrative, and that's the unfortunate thing, and one of the guests also mentioned that earlier, that most of the criticism and condemnation that you have from Nigerian system is not because they have all corruption or they detest some of the characters that are involved. It's because quite a number of people are just aspirants who are waiting to also access that opportunity, and they are only angry that there is not coming to them. And that is why you would also see that many of those
it's cautionary of the corruption, not that they hate corruption itself.
You will see how people would just display openly the wealth that they cannot justify. And that is why cyber criminality is also thriving in our system.
Okay.
Parents are always also encouraging their children without any reason for explanation. This is not where we started. This was not our culture and tradition. And it's the same thing we have exported from the homes. It has gone to the public office. It has gone to our religious institutions. We don't care. We don't bother. And it is very, the endorsement of corruption now is now moved for us, even in the law and in our normal lives.
Okay.
We don't bother about whether you steal or not. What is now for us? Who is corrupt? It's only those that are convicted by the court.
Okay, Larry. So, EFCC is saying that its investigations show that Mr. Ahmed Idris, Accountant General, they accused him of all sorts of bogus consultancies and other illegal activities using proxies, family members, and close associates. Now, that is, if they can prove it, and we've just heard that sometimes the Nigerian legal system can be contortionist. You know, it just bend itself in all sorts of ways so that at the end of the day, you might want to call the law and ask, that's your prerogative, but sometimes people walk. And we've also heard in a different context, not judicial or legal, that your money lost. Why are you complaining? Is your money lost? Have you lost your money? So don't stop telling us that money is missing. If your money is not missing, it's ridiculous. I've got to take a break now, but let me go and come back so that we won't be interrupted on Julia. And then, of course, we'll include your calls. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. We're looking at the news. Dare I say shocking news that EFCC arrests Accountant General for alleged fraud, money laundering, outright stealing of 80 billion through proxies and bogus consultancies. I mean, we've been trying to look at, will this be any different? Will this be a case where it's any different from what we've seen before? We don't know. You don't always know with government. Maybe you might say it's totally unrelated. Magu, the former EFCC head, he was removed from office the way he was removed, and then we heard that he's recently been promoted, and all of that. Then there's the case of Andrew Yakubu, and you said at the beginning, in relation to this Ahmed Idris case, that you're not really surprised, but what sort of distresses you is the ease of access to public funds.
Public funds.
So how can it be going on like this? Because I just get this feeling that it's not about to end tomorrow.
So it's difficult to reconcile the government official position on one side that we don't have funds to do so many things that Nigerians are asking us to do. And then you hear on the other side how easy it is for some individuals to corner billions to themselves from time to time. And I've always asked myself this question: how on earth does this happen? And look, you must also have to understand that the process of our budgeting is a problem. Every year, every budget cycle or section, we go through the same issue. The executive will submit budget estimates to the National Assembly. The National Assembly will alter. They take and place and all that and all that. In the process, the entire budget estimate becomes convoluted. And you have items, the same set of items that should have lifespan of 5 years, in some cases 10 years, appearing in this budget on a yearly basis. And these are the areas that they know these monies are there hanging, and these things don't need to be bought on a yearly basis, and they go for them. Look at this country today, Yori. You have, I remember as a younger person, my dad was a councillor then, supervisory councillor. He had an official car. That car, no matter how late he returned home, must be taken to the secretariat of the local government, okay, and parked there. That is still happening in other parts of the world. In fact, you cannot even carry members of your family in the official vehicle of government in the United States without authorization from your boss or the police.
So there's a different attitude to governance over there. Let me interrupt you just a bit, I beg your pardon, because Mr. George has called in from Ikeja. Good morning to you, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you properly.
Uncle Yori, if you go to your record, you will see that since 2014, I've been calling your station supporting the emergence of President Buhari as our president. The reason why I was doing that is because I believed he can tackle corruption, which is the bane of our society, of our problems in this society. But if you check the trend, you will see that it has become disappointing, so to speak. He succeeded in jailing 2 governors. This same person that did that has ended up freeing the 2 governors even before they could serve their terms and granted them amnesty. What signal does that send? To me, it looks like he has removed anti-corruption from his agenda. You remember, Uncle Yori, some billions were found in a flat at Ikoyi. Today, what has happened? Does anybody hear about that again?
Nobody really knows where that case went.
Any same system, what happened in this subject you are discussing now? The person concerned should have been fired by now. But as we speak, I'm not aware that the Accountant General has even been placed on suspension. That tells me that the priority being given to corruption fight has died. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, indeed.
I'm even surprised. I'm not surprised of what has happened, but I am surprised that you are even bringing it up as a topic, because nobody talks about it again.
Yeah, it's gotten that bad. Well, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Appreciate your call. Did you want to add anything to that? The difficulty of the situation as it is seen by some, and even frustration. Mr. George just finished saying there that it seems like they've excised anti-corruption from their whole program.
Yeah, what I believe Mr. President should do is to have a kind of system in place. For instance, I did the job for them in Bank of America in Dublin, and I know that we have what they call KYC. They do it here too. They have due diligence, but they have something they call political engagement. If you are related to a political person, it takes much more before you can do business with the bank. So if they can siphon cash and it gets difficult for the cash to be laundered, that way they are not able to carry out the full effect. If you have money in your home, you have it in your home. How are you going to spend it? We are moving now out of cash society. So
you think our systems are defective?
The system is still very porous for now, and we can work on it, especially the banks. Where money comes in, you ask, what is the source of income? Where is it coming from? And when you know the cash...
I'm afraid to say that that's not usually our style.
It's not.
Even in our local languages, there are expressions saying that you don't really question and that kind of a thing.
The banks do ask such questions, but they don't have the spine to enforce it when it has to do with the big guys.
Okay, I don't want to forget Larry.
Because they want the money.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, but Larry, coming on that whole issue there, right there. Larry Suraj, who is also with us.
Yes, I am here.
Yeah. Our attitude, is it cultural? Is it national? We intentionally sidestep, I would wager, we intentionally sidestep because it is difficult. Some of the difficult, questions. So we don't ask them, we don't get answers. And I said something that you, as a Yoruba-speaking person, will understand, and I'm sure that other languages in the country have a variant of it. They don't ask, you don't ask an Adelebo or pregnant person where the pregnancy came from. It is just there, you see it.
Yeah. No, I think if you also step a little further, I mean, that one, for that one about where you don't ask,
Larry, I beg your pardon. My mistake. I should have taken a call that's been waiting. So I'm going to come to you as soon as I finish with Mazi Okorafor, who's been waiting, who's been holding on.
Okay.
Forgive me for interrupting it. My mistake. Mazi, apologies. Good morning to you, sir, in Arochukwu.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, my brother, Larry, and there in the studio. You see, you ask yourself, the accountant general of the federation, is he running an oil? Does he have a filling station, or maybe he has a well in this oil area? The question is this: the government has to try as much as possible. All this is, I agree, it's an allegation. Sayori and our guest, all these houses in Abuja and other states, who owns them? Especially, let's go to Abuja. Who owns those houses? Are they not federal government personnel, government politicians? And nobody's in those houses. These are estates. And when people are looking for houses, you go to Abuja, when you look for one, and they tell you a 3-bedroom flat, 1 bedroom is 2 million, 3 million. And there are estates. Is it not part of that money that people use to go through that thing? And what is the government saying? This is a state budget, a budget of a state for 1 year. That woman being just, that is what I used to tell people that any project we need in this country, go to each state. You must surely get 10 people or 100 people that will solve the project. But the question is, they just see that myself. Now tell me, how did he acquire this money? Is this his salary or a staco?
Yes.
Or allowances?
Yes.
Or it's the traveling this thing, or he has one business that normally generates the woman, we don't know. Each accountant general in the federation has such amount. Now, what happens to other state accountant generals? You're talking about federal. Can't we draw our umbrella or our to state? What will happen? We have just discovered that of federal government accountant general. But the question is, well, this is an allegation, as the court will tell you. You must prove with that evidence that this man, this is. But the question is, all those ones the federal government have just said this summer has now, where is the money?
Indeed.
And those people are just moving freely. All this is, as far as I got, this is a show, a film show, a Nollywood show that we do. After 3 weeks or 3 weeks, this story we're talking today and tomorrow will be a bygone story. Another one will happen. That is Nigeria for you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. But
thank you.
Be careful that.
Thank
Whatever
you.
we do is what we call the boomerang effect. The money belongs to pensioners, retirees. They are dying because such money did not reach them. Happen.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mazi. And returning to you, Larry, we're talking about the difficulty in doing what we think of as the right thing. He even said it there, not able to ask difficult questions. Mazi, that caller, said that there are so many empty houses in Abuja. He's not the only person seeing them. Government is seeing them. Nobody is asking the questions. The houses are there. Keep quiet, maintain the peace, and carry on, please.
Yeah, even the question is, who is going to bail the cat? Who is going to cast the first stone? Because almost everybody is also guilty. They are falling short of the glory of God. And I think it is not part of our tradition. It is never part of our culture. We never started like this. And the adage in Yoruba, one of those that you're trying to mention, I think the most appropriate one here is where the Yoruba would say, your child is not involved in laundry business, and it's coming home with different forms of clothes, and you are not even arresting him for stealing. You don't need anybody to tell you. You don't need people from outside to come and accuse.
Yes.
When your child is not into any form of textile business, or you see him coming home with different forms of clothes, this is where you started from. That is where it is as little as having to change your clothes without any opportunity or any means of proving it. And that is where we are. Like I was saying earlier, we have so much lowered the standard, such that when we see people working as civil servants, who is an ordinary clerk or something like that, and we know what is the level of the salary, and we see him living the life of a managing director, we are not asking questions. We see that he has found a way. Every way now way. That is the thing. That is the saying.
Okay. One second, please. One second, please, while I take Kesandu, who's been waiting as well. Good morning, Kesandu.
Good morning, sir.
Please carry on.
Good morning to your guest.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, with the heart filled with pain, I am speaking this morning. This whole thing is becoming a total embarrassment to our society. It's becoming a total embarrassment to a common citizen of this country. That at this time, this quagmire will have found ourselves people. There's only word that says a dog eating the bone that was hung on his neck. This is just what we're saying. And the whole anger is that when these things happen, we do not even see these people get punished. And like somebody rightly said, before you could say Jack Robinson, you will find a president who ordinarily told us, claimed that he's an apostle of anti-corruption, giving a waiver to some of these people that have been jailed, considering all we have spent to fight this corruption. Uncle, you now ask yourself, if the accountant general could do this, and I have a problem with the EFCC to a large extent. I think by now, Malami should also be answering certain questions. What is wrong with this country? This whole thing is becoming an embarrassment to us in the outside world. And that is why these other countries do not take Nigerians seriously as a country. Look at how poor this country, they have painted us to be, and how our people are. But few persons will take money. I don't even understand the morals behind this. Do they even have conscience?
Okay.
Even at this time,
Kesandu, it's frustrating, but the line has been tried this morning, even on the program, that look, it's well known, it's well enough known. I think somebody said that why it's difficult to bell the cat, so to speak, is who is going to be doing the belling? Who told you your hands are not soiled as well? You remember back in the day, you taka me, I double you. I mean,
you gave your Yoruba proverb, and let me tell you, this is not a proverb. You can find this on YouTube. A group of Nigerians, so-called successful Nigerians, and they come and taunt the rest of us. When we were poor, nobody asked us why we were poor. Yes.
I saw that.
But now that we are rich, they want to know how
we became rich. The source of our wealth.
And that is the kind of attitude. And when you go to that YouTube video, you have over 100,000 views and commentaries that were saying, yes, why should anybody ask you how you made your money? Listen.
So
we have a society.
That's why Larry is saying that it never used to be like this.
Yes, so we have a society that is averse to accountability. Look, as young people growing up, I said this to everybody, my mother will beat the daylight out of you if you bring anything home that you cannot account for it. But today what happens? If you tell your neighbor and say, look, your son is a thief, we know he's involved in 419 or Yahoo Plus, they'll say, oh, you are enemy of progress. How do you know my son is the one involved?
Some might even say that everybody is stealing, and that it is whoever is apprehended that gets labeled a thief.
This is what is happening in our public service. You know what happened? When you go and steal public funds, the first set of defenders you have are your family, state, or tribal groups. In fact, some of them will go to the extent of making uniform to come to court.
It is true.
In your support.
Yes, it is true.
Look,
we see this.
Then your religious group will enter and say, oh, is it because he's a Christian? What about Muslims who are stealing? If it is a Muslim, you have the same argument. Oh, what about these Christians who stole?
Okay.
So, and it's been, again,
you know, it's good you brought in that religious aspect, because, you know, I can ask Reverend Dominic. Reverend Dominic, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Yori.
You've been hearing the conversation up to now. You don't reach your side, though.
Yori, it doesn't make sense to me again. Yori, in the beginning of this government, do you know a man we call grass cutter? Do you remember a name called grass cutter?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember?
I know the mama.
Now,
The
that
little
grass
mama.
cutter, I saw him a few days ago in Abuja, submitted a candidate position bid.
Sorry. I didn't know grass cutter was not the protein. I didn't know you were talking about, I thought you were talking about protein. You know.
Also charges.
Okay.
Now, the grass cutter is that vote campaigning for someone to become a president. That's by the way. Now, Yori, are you also hello? Are you also surprised that 100 million we have 27 people who is purchasing the ticket? I mean, the special ticket of APC with 100 million. Why are you surprised about 80 billion? Do you know what I will be? Let me say my own. I wish I'm a judge today. I will lobby for this case in my court. 80 billion. And when you bring 80 billion matter in my court, I will know how to handle it. Yori, number 3. Yesterday, I was watching this with my wife, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria was telling the judges that was appointed not to be corrupt. And I laughed. Do you know why I laughed? If the judges are not corrupt, how are they going to pay their school fees? The athletes on strike. Their children is in private university. If judges are not corrupt, how are they going to buy cars? Document cars is in millions now. If judges are not corrupt, how are they going to feed themselves? Do they have a different supermarket in Nigeria than other people? How will the judges are corrupt if in Nigeria today you cannot even go on the road? You must fly on the air from one point to another to be in safety. How could be corrupt? Yori, one thing I've said before, I don't put it myself again. Nigerians are forgiving me. I'm disappointed about this government. And this government APC has become a disappointment.
You said Nigerians are forgiving you for supporting this government into power.
We are waiting for hello.
Okay, Reverend. You can see, you know, you can see, can't you, that Patrick, that the passion that we feel here. The one thing I wanted to ask you that you being in diaspora, how does all of this appear to you? When I say I don't mean you individually, but the communities over there, because arguably you don't have, you know, easy, straightforward access to news, apart from what is filtered, unless you're very diligent in you know, in reading up the mainstream media. How does all of this appear to you?
We hear all kind of things in Nigeria, and it's like it does not. I want us to feel like coming back. For instance, I think I'll just be there for a while and I'll come back to Nigeria, and people are saying, "What am I going back to do there?" Because
the system doesn't work.
The system has not changed. And there's something I would like, they call it active citizenship. We keep blaming the government, but the government is the people. The government, politics is out there for the people, by the people. The person you are calling government today, or the accountant general, used to be a citizen, is still a citizen. So if we have what they call active citizenship in place, we are able to tell them this is the way a citizen, that's just like he said, that his mother will not.
Of course, those are the old-time values.
Yeah, we can bring the value back.
Larry Suraj also said it.
The European
he said it never used to be like this.
Yeah, the European Union did something. They call it active citizenship. And they encourage it across Europe. I was employed as a consultant for 8 months to be training the people that are integrated into the system.
Do you think you can come and train our own people too?
Of course, that's what I came to do.
You think it's going to make any difference?
It makes, let me give you an instance.
No, I don't have the time because I want to take Coyote. I'm so sorry.
All right.
Coyote in the UK. Good morning, Coyote in the UK.
Yeah, hi, good morning, and good morning to your guests as well.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
I've been trying to get through for quite a while, but if you don't mind me saying a few things, you know, a lot of this, we've got to try to trace the root of the problem that's discussing at the moment. And the reason why I'm saying that is, I know that your guests have touched on some of it, yes? But when you have the Accountant General, what about it? Auditor General, as well as the, you know, somebody seeing all the states Accountant General as well. Now, I'm going to debate into it because I sent I sent a video out to a few of my contacts, and on that video, it's the Nigerian flag as the Nigerian national anthem. And one thing I stress on is that, and this is I'm going to use your platform to state this: none of my compatriots should vote for any of these governors that are vying for either presidency or the Senate. And the simple reason is that they never respected the Constitution. And what I mean by that is simple. There are 3 tiers of government in each state. If they cannot give autonomy to the local government, where is the money going to?
Okay.
We have governor.
I get your point, but forgive me, Kayode. I got your point. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your calling in, and we did get your point, but because of time, that's as much as we can take from your submission. Thank you very much, Kayode in the UK calling in. Larry Saraj, you are remote, so I'm saying, let me just, first of all, thank you, but also in closing, ask you, are you optimistic that anything is going to come out of this one way or the other? EFCC has arrested the accountant general, alleged that he stole 80 billion. This is going to go well. We just want it to go well. Let them come up and tell us they've investigated it and this is where it is. Are you optimistic that can happen? Very, very briefly.
Yeah, no, I'm quite optimistic. The interesting thing is that the EFCC, without too much of apology, and the same thing goes to ICPC, I should say, they are different from the police, where arrest would be conducted immediately a case is reported without any due investigation or intelligence gathering, and then so cases are usually. That is why you will find in police station. Okay. It is the complainant that is usually right. But with the case that we have, which is based on intelligence, you can tell that there's some measure of evidence that are already available. And the fact that even the accountant general was accused or alleged to have refused to honor invitations before he was arrested. I mean, to arrest an accountant general is more or less like arresting a minister.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Larry. Appreciate you. And also, Mr. Patrick Wale Adejayon, CEO, International Center for Business Development, visiting us from your base in Dublin. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on.
Very much.
As always, Curtis, our appreciation. Curtis Atiba.
And you heard what the EFCC said.
10 seconds.
Yes, you heard what the EFCC said. He built a web that had Nigerians as consultants, family members.
We're going to leave it there.
So again, it's our society.
Okay.